Okay, this is the data set we are using. Do we all have this? So, what I'll do once you start with your first thing is always important to make a copy of your data set. It's not always right to start working on your data like that. You need to make a copy in case you have error. You need to come back to it for something else. So I'm going to make a copy of this data, which is what I'm doing now. Move or make a copy. I click on that. So now ask me where I want it. Create a copy. Move to the end. Okay. So it has now made a copy. I can now rename this one as training. Not good with my spelling today. So that is how I got that training. Are we good? Are we good? Okay. Now, next thing, I will look at the rows and see, go to my data, go to filter button, so as to see what is. These are ribbons on Excel. Uh, so these are just Excel ribbons. Uh, so this is only insert, page layout, formula, data review. Well, I'm going to data bar, I'm going to the ribbon, I'm going to my filter. I'll click on filter. It will now filter, or you will see a drop down menu here. So this is what the filter button is doing. So now I'm doing the cleaning. This is not important, so I'm going to take it off. And as we can see here on this column, we only have June 2023 and blank. Most of the data here are blank. So I'll delete this one. I'll move this one out. And on this one too, I only have everything. Yes, just invoice. Is an invoice. It's a sales invoice. So it's a sales dashboard. That is why I'm going to remove this. We won't be needing this. It's excess. They're just noise for our data. So that is what I'm doing. So on this other one, we have date entered. Let me increase my. So I think it's better like this. Oh, okay. So we have the date entered here, entered and last multiplier, and we have the dates here. The difference between this and this one has a timestamp, and but this one is just date. So we don't need this one because of the timestamp. We don't need it. We'll take it off. This is just this data set was extracted from a software. It's a real data set. So and which other we have the customer names. This should be customer's name, but we have name. We can change it to customer if you want. And we have the source name, which are also the same thing, MDA. So we'll take this one off. So we have our memo. Now look at what is in it. It's just memo, summary, maybe just a note. So we won't be needing this one, so we'll have to take it off.
have the drop down menu
Okay.
on those lists in front?
All right. This is where we let me remove the drop down back. You just come to your data. Can you see my cursor? Come to the data here. Click on this data ribbon here. Click on it. You see this. It's off. This filter key. Once you click on it, the drop down menu will come out. Are we good? Are you good? Please indicate with a reaction. All right. So this should be the location. Let me change it to location. You can also change yours to location, so we have the same thing. Let me see what is here. And let's change this to gender. Um, Nothing is here. So let me remove this one too. So we have pay through and we have payment method. Basically, they are both the same thing. We have cash transfer check, and we still have the same thing in here. Let me remove the pay through, so I will keep the payments method. This is the payment method. This is paid stroke unpaid. Paid stroke unpaid. So which other one do we have? Now this number, this column C.
Currently, I will settle the recording so you can practice after the class, please.
Yes, I've started recording. Yeah, I'm recording the session now. Okay, this column C here, we have to. These are just invoice number, and we will not be needing it in our data set because there's no information this will give. We don't need to know the information of the invoice number. We don't need to make reference to it. So that's why we have to take it off too. Just understand your data. That's the whole about it. You need to understand your data. So these are the items or products in that way. Then in accounting, we have since we are not doing this, we are not doing account receivable. Account receivable are our customers keeping their account, because this open balance means some of them have outstandings, some of them are debtors. So that's why we see we have open balance and we have various balances there on the row. So we are not dealing with their receivables for now. We'll look at that at the subsequent lesson, but for now we won't be needing this, so we'll be taking it off too. So for the credits and debits, we won't be needing this one too. Can you still see my screen? Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So debits and amounts are basically the same thing. So I will take away debits and leave amounts. Now, average days to pay is also what it's also relates to account receivable. That's our customer data, but we won't be needing it for our report. We'll take it off too. Now, this our balance. This is what this balance means. It's just taking a summary of everything here. Is adding it together, which is because of this plus this. This is what the amount is, just adding everything here. It will add, to this and give this value. This will add to this and give this value. So I wrote a formula down here. That's why you've seen everything. Let me change it to so that's just so we won't be needing the balance here. If you have questions, you can unmute your mic and ask. So I'll remove the balance. I hope you understand why I'm taking those columns off. Hello? Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
But it seems as if this thing they highlighted and that of amount exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Yes. The one I highlighted an amount.
And yeah, that of balance.
Yes. Yes. So this is what happened. Let me go back. I just told you how, because this is a data set from the system. So this one I just used a formula and showed you how I got it. This is F2. You can see this is M column M plus K3. This is K, this is 3, K3, row 3. Can you see? You can, if you are using your phone to connect, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. So I will tell you how we got it. So I now drag down the formula.
Okay.
Okay, so I will delete it because it's no longer necessary, and this one too I won't be needing it again. We don't need a summary. So having done that, ref, there's nothing here, it's just blank on the ref. Okay, the data is not opening in Excel. Launch your Excel. Launch your Excel if you have issue with your data opening in Excel. Launch your Excel. Okay. Then this admin accountant, these are just users. If you look at the drop down here, these are just the users of the accounts, and this data was extracted from a QuickBook interface. So these are the users of the accounts. We have accountants, we have the admin, we have the cashier, we have the data entry staff, we have the manager. So these are just the account operators, the users that normally have access to the accounts. So I don't know if it's necessary, but let me just leave it. We change it to user. Think we still have on that date and ship date. Think they are basically the same thing. We take away this ship date. Okay. Now, if you press your system, your control shift on your system, shift and control, hold shift and control, and down button, it will take you to the end of the data. As you can see, we have 17,833 rows in this data. Did you get that? Okay, so that's just the. So now if you notice, now I still have to be scrolling up to go over to my top page, my page one, and it's much. So there's a function in Excel that we use. Let me go back to my control shift and up to take one. So we come here, we go to our view ribbon. Once we come to the view ribbon, we now come to freeze pane. We click on this freeze pane. So what this does, it will freeze the header row and the first column. Now if I come back to this, you notice that our header row is still there, though we've gone to the end of the data set, but our header is still there. That is what the freeze pane does. Are we good? Are we good? Okay. Can you still see my screen?
So, sorry, sir. I was using my hand. Extend
Okay, yeah.
it.
Ask your question.
So, the okay for the gender column, I don't see much data there. How are we going to get the gender since we
Um,
left it there?
that will be part
Through
of
their name.
now. That will be part of what we will do. I will give you as a, but don't worry, you be the one to fill in the gender column. But the gender, I will do one with the location. But for the gender column, I will leave that for you guys to do. So for the location now, note this. I highlighted the location now. I want to copy out this location. So Control C. I come to this column L. I come to home ribbon. Come to paste option. I will paste value. So I pasted the value. So on this paste value now, the next thing I will do, I will now come back to this my data, and I will now remove duplicates. Okay, this is now the remaining data that I've removed the whole duplicate. Are we good? Okay, you raise hand.
So this
Yeah, I can't hear you. What did you say?
come again.
As in how I got this thing right?
So
Okay, I'll delete this. I simply click on this column B, on this our location column B. I copy this, Control C to submit, Control C to submit. I now come down here, I now use Control V to paste. Can you see? Let me see your reaction. Eh?
I'm good. I'm good.
Alright, okay. Now the next thing I said, I now come to my data ribbon here, this my data ribbon here. Come here, I now come to remove duplicates. So once I click on this remove duplicates, which version of Excel are you using? Because we all have it differently. I'm using version 16, 2016 version. So once you click on this remove duplicate, it will ask for data which of the column, and the column we are working in is column L. Just click OK. Now we see these are just the data we have that made up all these values. Okay. Now I want us to pick a location on our own. I don't want to use my own data because I want us to, for the practical training, I want us to give a location on our own. So can I see location on the comment section? So I'll use the location you guys give. Just give me up to 5 location or 10 as the case may be. Okay. Hello, can you still hear me? Okay. Okay, Lagos, um, Osun, Osun, Jos, um, okay, let me use Abuja, okay, Abuja, okay, is that all we have? These are just for, okay, let me just come up with what are called, Okay, data. Thank you. Delta. Okay. Now, since we only have five, what I want to do, I want to take away this location. I've deleted the location. Now I want to fill it up with this my data using random function, using a function in Excel. So we have this, and we note these are just it's five location, 1 2 3 4 5. We have five location. So I want to populate these are location Otukpo. Okay, Otukpo. Okay, now I want to populate this location using this data. There's a function in Excel called index function. Just and once you are in Excel, if you are using Excel, you have to start. If you want to write any function, you have to start with the equals to command. Is equals to now as index function index. So it's asking us for an array. This is an array. Array is a range of data, a range of cell that mostly contain the same data types. So this is an array. It's asking us to indicate the array. So this is the array. I will indicate the array. I'll copy the array. Then comma. There's another function in Excel, random function. I want to randomize it. That's why I'm using the random function here. So I'm using rand between. So rand between. And note we have 1 2 3 4 5 6. We have 6 location here. So I'll say rand between 1 comma 1 comma 6. I will close the first bracket, which is for the rand between. I will now close the second bracket, which is for the index. Then I will now press enter. Now at random, it's pick Otukpo. Now if I drag it down or double click it, it will populate. Now note it's random. By the time we are working, as long as we continue to work on this data, we will continue working. Any calculation we do, this data will keep changing. And note this other part here has 0. You would have asked, the question would have been, why do we have 0 here instead of the rest of the data set? Is because we did not lock the cells. Now if you press F2, you notice it's highlighted this, telling us this is what the data we are using. This is the array that we are using. Now if I come to another one and press my F2, you notice it has jumped. It's going down. It's leaving the data set to another place. So now coming to this one, pressing F2, it has it's no longer on the range of cells that was selected initially. So that's the essence of this is the result of not locking our data. So now we have to go back and try this again. I'll tell us the lock function. Now I'll go again with equals to index. Now I'll select this. I will now press the F4 on your sheet, on your keyboard. You see F4. Once you press F4, notice what happened. Everything there is now has a dollar mark, dollar sign in between our list, our range. You see $L, $2, semicolon, $L, $7. So what this is doing, it's locking this cell, ensuring that no matter what we do, no matter our calculation, it will remain on this spot. It won't change it won't move to any other place. So now I'll go back to my random function, rand between, and now round 1,6, and now close the rand between, and now close the index, press enter. Now I can now double click it, it will now. Are we good? Any question? Any question before I move on, before I go ahead?
I have a question. Can you repeat again, please?
I have a question, please.
What's the question?
Sir, please, my question is, first, sorry, I'm not taking us back, but it's just that I
Okay.
want to know why you delete the columns you deleted, and also this other last one you did now. I didn't get it, please.
Okay. Okay. This is okay. Why I deleted the. Oh, this is just that's inside this book. I have to write them out here. These are the functions.
Sir, please, hello, sir.
Yeah,
This is from the onset, from the beginning of the class. You know, you deleted a lot of columns. I want to know the reason
yeah.
for deleting some of those columns.
Okay.
That is one of my questions.
Okay. The reason for those columns and rows are because they are noise, they are distraction to our data, they are unnecessary. We have to have a smooth flow. As an analyst, as whatever in your field, in your profession, you don't need noise, you don't need unnecessary data. So those data are deleted to assist to our workings. So I have to remove them. So it will enable me to analyze my data and give out a good result. So these are the data that I used initially. So this one will be that log, the log function. So that's the function I use to populate this list. So now I'll have to copy it, and because if I don't copy and paste value, any calculation I do here, it will be changing, the location will be changing.
Okay.
So yeah, take for instance now watch well with this. Notice the location are changing. If you look at the location,
Okay.
so if it's not locked, it will keep changing. So that's the essence of copying and pasting that, because of the random function that is in there. So that's the random function that is causing all those movement. So I have to just click on this row.
Okay.
Because of the random function that I'm using, that is why that's why the data keeps changing. So I'll copy this location, Ctrl C, click on the row, then come back to the home page and go to my paste function. I will now paste value. So no matter what I do now, my data will still remain where it is. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take it again. Just copy here, Ctrl C, come down here, go to your home and go to your paste function, paste value. so it will paste without a formula. It will only paste the values. Now if you come back to it, it's only allocation, it's no longer changing. So can we move out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now for this gender, to be after the class, you guys will do that one for the as against tomorrow. For this gender, you have to populate it using the this pattern I showed you, using this function to populate this gender. Let me say this is M and this is F, male, female. So you have to populate it with populate using this function, just like this sample I did here. So now our data is looking pretty clean. What's the time? At least we can use this data for now. Let's now go to the let me go back to the control shift alt, control shift down to now take us to the end of the data. Now there's this function called count blanks. We need to count a number of blanks in our data set. So instead of going through the row one after the other, just use count blanks. And since we are in column A, so we use A2. Just come to this side. So this is what this function, that is what the function is doing. It's counting the number of blanks in the cell. So I'll write out the case I want to share this file with you. That is the function that is a count blank. So now we can notice that we don't have any blanks in the first column, the second column we don't have any blanks, but for the gender we have 17,000 and something blanks. We don't have blanks here, but this other amount, this is summary, we don't need it, so we have to remove the row again. We have to remove this row because we don't need that summary, we don't need the total. Our pivot table will do that for us. Very good. Can you still see my screen? Alright. Okay. Now let me I will now highlight this particular, the gender column. I will leave it for us, and the name. If you notice, let me copy the names and the names. We have multi names. So what the assignment should be, if you are going to work on this data set, you have to work on the names and the gender. So ascribe a name to a female, so it will be, because if you populate this, if I use the function here now as, let's say, male, female, and randomize it here, we have some of these customers are repeating, like we have the customers, and okay, let me just quickly do equals to index. I select this, I lock it F4, comma, round between round between 1 comma 2. I close it and close it. So now, so if you notice, let me, now it's giving it a random number. Now if you notice, this is customer, this customer here. Now look at this customer. Is a customer, is also bearing male as the gender. That same customer is also having female as the gender. So it's having better is bias. So that's where we work on our own. We work on, because these are customers, they come numbers of time to buy, to patronize the company. So you have to work on the data, on the names and the gender. So you come up with your own name. So and the names here are over 1,000 plus. So it's too bulky. But in a data set, in financial data set, it's not advised to work on your to work on these names or to replace any value. It's not advised. It's only for this practice. That's why, and for us, for the purpose of practical training, that's why we are working on all those things. It's not advised to work on the data set given to you in the finance, because in accounting all the values matters. Once you are done with the cleaning, it's not advisable to replace any value unnecessarily, except you are already familiar with the data yourself. So let me just play and see there. So next we can now come to here, pick our data. Can now go to insert. Let me print this thing down. Can now come to insert our pivot table. So where do we want our pivot table? We want it in a new sheet. So to take us to a new sheet, this is our pivot. So we can now start. This is our data. So these are just the raw data we have. We have the users, we have the dates, we have the names, location, gender, names, paid and unpaid, payment method and amount. So we can now decide on how we want the data set to look. So this is where we start working with. Let me name this one pivot table. So let's look at our, we can play these are the columns in our data, like the user. These are these columns. Those are the columns that are represented in that pivot table. These are just the user. These bold highlighted ones are this here. So these are the users, the dates, the name, the location, the gender. Those are the headers that are represented here. We can now come to work with them. Let's say for instance I want to know, let's say we want to get the gender, or let's say location. Can bring location to, drag our location to row. Let's say we want to know the amount for location, or can bring amount to location. It will give us the summary. So that's it. It will give us for Abuja. Let me edit the value. So some number formatting. So as you can see, let me increase the So as you can see, Abuja, for Abuja we had a sales of 284 million. Yeah, that's more 284 million. Meanwhile, data I have 274, just have 269, and the rest, and this is the whole total. So, so that's just a summary of what we'll be doing today. That's what the pivot table does. It will give you a summary of what you want to do on the value. You can even get to know maybe the gender that made the can drop the gender here to now male, female, and the rest. So we don't need it here. Can take it off. So this is what it's happening. Yeah, let me use that. Let me look at paid and unpaid. So let me take location off. So these are the number of people that paid. At this we have total of 1,470,000 people that made payments and 221 of unpaid payment customers. So we still have outstanding debt outside. So that's how this pivot table works. So I'll do a pivot graph on this. So can you still see my screen? Hello, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry, sir. Can you please go back to data sets, like the practice data set, the training rather, the training or the practice one, anyway, the one we are using, sure.
All right. We are using all.
Okay, so the paid and unpaid, do we still need it? Like the paid and unpaid,
Hmm. It
or
all depends
paid?
on what you are present. Maybe you want to know the number of athletes. Now, do we need it? Yes, and it's to know the rate of at which our goods are being sold. So the customer they are buying, are they making payment? And the payment method is just for depend on the visual. I want to the visuals we have. Like the visuals I have here. Let me share a screen here. Visual I have here. Let me see my it's still open. Okay. Can you see this one? Can we see this new change? I'm presenting a new screen. Can we see it? Let me know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this here we have the let me increase the so we have the paid and unpaid here. I have the yeah, I have female and male and those that make payments. The the orange color bar indicates are male and the blue columns are female. So these are and for this data, most of them are unpaid. So you can see this whole column here are unpaid. Meanwhile, this one are just the ones that make payment. So our the money for this company, the money they are making sales mostly on credit. That's why they have a high value of unpaid customers, unpaid sales. So they are selling, but the cash are not actually coming in at the right time as they ought to come in. So so that's how it's here. For now,
Okay, thank you, sir.
all right. So it all depends. Maybe if you work on your own data, you can decide to leave the payment method. can decide to replace it with something else. So by the time you are presenting your dashboard, you can go through it. Okay. Okay, can we see the new screen now? Hmm? Can we see this new screen?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. Now for this now let me go back to our pivot table. So we can now decide on what we want to do here. We have the pay. Let's say let me now put the gender here. Mm, gender, male. What is happening? That okay? Because the gender is not complete. It's no. Let me. Why sending this file? I will still share this workings with you, but I'll remove this before sharing. So let me just fill in the gender so that for our pivot table it will be to go. So let me see. Right, quickly equals to index F4 comma brand between 1 comma 2, then close the so double click on it, it will populate, and that's is that. Let me just cross check to the down. Hmm. Okay, we have some data there. I have to delete this and write again. Hmm. F4 to lock it. You now write your random function round between 1 comma 2. You now close it. So I can now double click it. Okay, I think it's now, yeah, everything is now okay. Now, figure. Now let me copy and paste value so that Control C, so that the data there will not be changing. Paste value. We have 30 more. So now there's we still have this pivot table and it's still connected to this our training data set, but the data there has changed. So to refresh it, we only have to come to this data here. We'll see this refresh button here. Can we see the refresh button on the ribbon there under data? Hmm?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, now if I click on this refresh button, my data here will change because now it's still retaining the old data in the memory, in this memory. So because I did refresh, it will now change. I can now bring this gender here. Can now see how the data now looks, the pivot table, how it now looks. Hmm? So the we can now do any other manipulation we want to do here. quickly read reply to end line. So now this we have here. So we can quickly draw any visual we want to do here. Let's say we want to do insert. We just come to insert recommended chart to bring out a chart bar for us. We can now see, okay, which chart do we want to? Let's say we want to this column chart. We just come, okay, we have lots of charts there, but I usually like using the clustered column. Now if you say, okay, this is this chart for this data here. So depending on what we want, can say, okay, we want under this option, we can say you want to include the data table. So these are the data tables I've included. So we can work on the title. You can add title, chart title. You can change the legend. It all depends on. So this is it. So here we can change it to a name that we want. And so we say this is since we are using the sum here, let me use okay, let me use let me work on the average. Let me go to this value to change it to average. So average number um average sales per um so these are the data. This is just a table. Can now work on others. We can change the data. If this same data can give us another image, let's say we recommended, we can come back and change the, can see a line chart there. If you don't want the bar chart, we can come to a line chart and see what it will do. There's still pie chart there. So it all depends on what we want to achieve, on how, depending on our designs, we'll be creative in it. So for me, that's just what I designed for now. So these are all designs. You decide, you there are criteria in choosing your graph actually. So but with that, we will learn along the line sha. But this is just different charts we could use to explain the same thing. So it's the same thing but on different purpose. But that one will come. I think we have less than two. Now let me do something. Instead of going back to this data, to this training data, to be copying, to be highlighting this whole table, to be pasting, to create a pivot table, I can just come here, select this, Control C, copy it, come down here, paste it, Control V. Then I can now come to my data here and change it. Like for the date now, I want to change it. I want to remove this payment and I want to put the date there. So using shortcut is more efficient in your data. So we can see it has already divided the date into rows, columns, and the rest. It has segmented the data into 2024, 2023. That means what this data contains data from 2024 to 2023 to 2024. Okay, we can see the sub January. So it all depends on how we work. But this is not what I wanted to, this is not the output I wanted. So I'll quickly run through a function. Let me show you a function here. Let me go back to my data set. Let me insert a column here. Okay, I have 30 more minutes. Let me call this one text function, and let me call this one date function. So now what this text function does, that it returns a certain date. Now this is what it does. I say equals to text function. It converts a value in a text into a specific number or format. So I want to convert this date into text instead of now value, which is date, comma, this is the value. Then what do I want in the value? Then the format, this is the format I want. I want month is MMM. I want month to year. That's, and close it. That is the short. Did we get what I did here? Hmm? Did we get the function I used here? Hello? Can use your reaction or unmute and say,
Yes.
okay. So this is just a test function here. I will show you the difference between a test function and a date function. Now let me use a date function here. So in the date function equals to date, then casting for the year. So I'll now say I'll use another function, a year function. I will now pick on this our date, close it, comma, the month, I still pick from here, the month function, I'll still pick from here. That's the month we want to use, and close it. And the day is 1. I'll close. Now let me go back to our pivot table and refresh, so that all this data will be reflected on our field. I'll refresh it. Now they are all there now, the text function, the date function. Now I want to take out these dates. Now I want to bring it down the text function, this text that we created. Now if you notice, because it's a text function, the dates are not aligned at the odd field. Instead of it to align as January, February. It's aligning as April, August, December. It's aligning alphabetically instead of the alignment should be chronologically in calendar format. So that's the difference between a test function. A test function,
Yeah.
it will only recognize it as test. So if I remove this test function and
Mm.
add the date function, you see the difference. So, but I don't want it in this format. Let me go back to this and highlight this cell and edit it. Let me edit this cell. Don't want it in the format. Okay. I want it just this format. So, I'll come back here and refresh. Okay. Okay. This is now the output of the year. I will be since I will stop here for now. The remaining 25 minutes. Let's use it for question and answering on any question so I can address them together now. Okay. You can unmute and ask your question. Hello. Hello. You can unmute and ask your question. Let me address the question now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you, sir.
Okay. So
Sir, please, my question is coming from the. Hello, sir.
yeah, I can hear you from the I can hear you.
Okay. The pivot table. Sorry, I got disconnected while you were trying to explain that of the pivot table. When you that is arranging the data in the pivot table, so I got lost there. So I just want to know how the whole thing came down to the pivot table.
Okay. So this is from the training data set. We only what I did here. I I copied down this data because I didn't want to copy the whole. I just copied down this. Control C. I dropped it down here. Control V. So what I now change the data inside. I just change the data inside. Bro, so that is what I did here. This is
No,
what
sir, I didn't get my question. My question is from our data. Hello, sir.
yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, I say you didn't get the question. My question there is from our data set. From our data set, you came down to the pivot table. So is that journey you took from that data set to the pivot table that I want to know
Okay.
the
Okay.
relationship there?
Now this is I'm now on the data on the training data sheet. Can you see it?
Yes,
The
sir.
okay. Now I just highlighted
Yes, I'm
this.
seeing it, sir.
So I highlighted this Control Shift and the right button, then down. I highlighted this. Oh, once I have highlighted this, the whole set I want to do, I'll now go to insert and now go to, you can see the insert and you see
Okay.
the pivot table beside it. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, now when I now go to insert,
Yes. Yes.
yes, it will now ask me where I want. Now if I say on a new sheet, if I say on existing sheet, I will have to select the sheet. But what I did was on a new sheet, and I say okay.
Okay.
So it will automatically create a new sheet, which is this. So I now renamed this sheet as pivot, let's say pivot 2. So that is how I came about this. Then the next thing I start working on the gender. Now did on my gender,
Okay.
paid and unpaid, think var the amount. So this was how I got it there. Then I changed this value setting to
Okay.
a format that could be used. I added separator, remove. So this was how I got there. This is what was the same thing that we have here. Then the next thing I now inserted the
Okay.
graph, the chart. Think okay. I changed this to I changed it to average. Think that was average. Yeah, and now go to insert again, and now go to insert recommended chart. It now gave me this chart, which is what I'm using now. Just say okay.
Okay.
So the chart, this is the chart. So what I just did is added some other field, this plus key beside it from add data table, which I added, then the legend, the grid line. So this is how I achieved that. Then I think on that thing, the title, the chart title, I now renamed it to average average sales, average sales per gender. Let's say that's what that this is how I got this chart here, this graph. Okay.
Okay.
So any other question? Hmm? Any other question? Okay. So what I will share this data set with us. This one I worked on, I will share with us, but I would like us to work on this gender that I told us about, the gender name. I will remove the gender before sending it to us, and these names. I want us to work on it on our own and fill it with the appropriate data. So I think that would be all for today.